Greetings from me, Tony Baker, your host, as I continue to remember Janos Starker and his music-making legacy with this special Holiday 2017 presentation. Before I get started, I want to thank all of you who have been watching my videos, and for those of you who have made comments, thank you for those as well. Back in January 2017, I played an audio selection of Mr. Starker and his longtime friend, pianist George Shebuk, playing in an October 30th, 1988 Arts for Human Rights benefit concert. You might remember that I told you Mr. Starker's daughter, Gabriella, organized the concert, and it was she who also gave me that audio recording you heard. However, since then, Gabriella located a video of that concert, which she has also given me, so I thought I would play for you that portion of the concert featuring Mr. Starker and Mr. Shebuk. They are playing Bela Bartok's Rhapsody No. 1.
like to say that I'm not quite sure how much dent our efforts and your cooperation will do to a very noble cause. But one thing on the personal note, I would like publicly say how proud I am of my daughter, who has worked an immense amount to make this thing happen. Thank you.
Next, I want to share a video excerpt of a live concert in which Mr. Starker was the guest soloist in Caracas, Venezuela on March 21, 1993. Thus far, I have been unable to determine the name of the orchestra, the conductor, or the venue. I apologize for the poor quality of the video and the muted audio track, because I think what will become evident to you is that this was recorded by an amateur. Regardless of the quality, I feel fortunate that this recording exists at all. If the video is frustrating for you to watch, I suggest you close your eyes and turn up the volume as Mr. Starker plays the second movement of the Dvorak Cello Concerto. On November 30th, 1981, Mr. Starker was the guest soloist at a concert in Alice Tully Hall in New York City, commemorating the 85th birthday, which was actually 5 days earlier, of American composer Virgil Thomson. Mr. Starker played Thomson's Concerto for Cello and Orchestra with the American Composers Orchestra under the direction of Dennis Russell Davies. Let's listen to the third movement. Next, let's have a look at an excerpt of a news broadcast about Mr. Starker from December 30th, 1984. Perhaps you'll find this as interesting and fun to watch as I did.
You cannot spend 2 weeks without listening to music and to practice actually the instrument, because music requires such a number of hours of such a total concentration on it. So the real issue is that if someone can get up in the morning and go through a day without music, that person is not supposed to become a musician.
That person is clearly not Janos Starker. Since he was a boy growing up in Hungary, Janos Starker has been with music, hearing it, playing it, thinking of it. He calls himself a classicist. Others call him the cellist's cellist.
Not the youthful tempo, just the middle-aged or old-age tempo.
Starker emigrated to the United States in 1948 and worked as principal cellist, first with the Dallas Symphony, then with the Metropolitan Opera, and later with the Chicago Symphony. In 1958, he left the security of a major orchestral post and set out as a soloist. Today, at 60, he is acknowledged internationally as one of the great virtuoso cellists of our time. If there's ever any criticism about you, it's never about the beauty of your playing, but occasionally one sees that they use the word cold or distant or steely.
As far as the coldness is concerned, I think it's the simplest way to say that I am emotional, I'm not sentimental. I try to understand since childhood the meaning of music and try to imagine what the composer must have felt. And on occasion it coincides maybe with the composer's intention, but the fact is that the emotions are there and the intensity is supposed to express it and not my body contortions. I follow the routine that my mother told me at the age of 80. She said that why should she stop smoking? She can't die young anymore. Now I'm in the same boat, so. What is the most important thing? Is the music the most important or the person who performs it? I happen to believe that music is above all. If everybody would perform it the same way, it would become dreary and dull. So the individual still has to come through, but simply by reflecting the music.
Janos Starker is at home on stage in Paris, London, New York, at all the great concert halls of the world. But he makes his real home here in mid-America, in Bloomington, Indiana.
The feeling it has to be a singing connection, because it sounds da-da-dee-da-da-da-da-da.
In 1958, he joined the faculty of the Indiana University in Bloomington, where he now holds the title of Distinguished Professor at its School of Music.
Thanks for at least reminding me that's the way it's supposed to be. Right. And now you play your competition version. If someone was lucky enough, as I was, to obtain the kind of instruction and to have been exposed to truly history's great musicians, then it's our obligation to give this information on to the future generations. What are you doing about your waist these days? It's not that it's too big, but it's not that it's too big, but it's inactive. It even looks better, let alone it sounds better. I always consider that teaching is far more satisfying and far more gratifying and far more important because that stays. A concert, no matter how successful it is, the standing ovations, eventually people sit down. That's what you're supposed to make the sound with. Spread it out. You promise to do that all the time? Somewhere. Now get up there and do it. La da 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 dim ti da da da.
Manages to balance his busy schedule of concerts and teaching and writing and remain a family man.
Being a family man is not a matter of how many hours you spend with your family. There's no question the cello has number one priority in my life because if I wouldn't play the cello and wouldn't concentrate on it, nothing else would be possible. Beyond that, unquestionably, my children and my wife is priority.
When he performed with the Lake Forest Symphony, his daughter Gwen joined him.
Not too long ago, it happened that we played a family concert with my daughter, who played Brahms double concerto with me, and my two sons-in-law played Beethoven triple concerto with me. And on the way to the stage, one of my son-in-law said, "Aren't you glad that you don't have more children? Because imagine the crowd that would get there now." At 60 is about the outer limit of the virtuoso cello playing. And I'm basically a virtuoso as a performer. I always consider that teaching is far more important because that stays. Seek permanency. My friends and my family knows that I'm deadly serious about music and about my profession, but God forbid that I ever get deadly serious about myself.
As we heard in the previous video clip, Mr. Starker was also a family man, in fact playing concerts with his daughter Gwen as well as his sons-in-law. My last video for today is of Mr. Starker in a family concert on December 24th, 1990, in a church in Iowa City. As you will see, this home movie clip does not show Mr. Starker, the virtuoso cellist, but Mr. Starker, the family man, playing with his granddaughter Lexi Prusel in her first public performance, along with his daughter Gwen, son-in-law William Prusel, and other Prusel family members. This is Pachelbel's Canon. Before I close, I must thank Mr. Starker's daughter, Gabriella, for making this YouTube possible, as she is the one who gave me all the video and audio clips of her father that were presented today. As you may have noticed, with the exception of the news broadcast excerpt, none of them were commercially produced. Without Gabriella's generosity, this presentation would not have been possible. Thank you, Gabriella.